All right, welcome to the Crypto Show, and today we have a very special episode here. I'm in Las Vegas, and I'm at the home of Kingsley Edwards, who is the developer, actually the creator of Flote, which is a decentralized app for, well, it's kind of a screw Facebook app, screw Twitter, screw all the guys who are limiting what you can post and how you can post it, and what you can say and how you can say it, and also we have some guys from Breaker.io and Singular DTV, which is they're kind of in the same realm, though. They want to stop YouTube from censoring you, or they want to be an uncensorable, decentralized platform for video content, for music, for just sharing your files. You know, I guess if Kim.com's not going to ever come back out with mega upload, we need somebody out there doing it. And when the guys from Singular reached out to me, the first thing I thought of was Flote, obviously, and I think it's a good match, and hopefully we can build a relationship here where you guys can work together. But let's go ahead and I'll start with Zach. Zach, tell me about how Singular TV got started and how Breaker is a part of that.
Yeah, sure. Well, basically, co-founder Kim Jackson and I were suffering as independent filmmakers in New York City back in 2013 when we got the blockchain bug. And we knew there was something to it. And it took a little while for us to figure out exactly how we could disintermediate the entire distribution sales agent strata that totally minimizes artists and creators. And yeah, we launched Singular DTV, had our TG in 2016. And basically we've always approached it like, if you take the biggest, widest view of who we are and what we're doing, we're building the components of a decentralized entertainment industry in a box. Ultimately, it's a really big, huge, chewy thing to bite off, and it takes time, of course. But yeah, Breaker is a decentralized application that we have built, and it's all about rights management on the blockchain, disintermediating those distribution companies and sales agents, and creating this new relationship between audience directly with the artist and with content.
And that obviously lowers the price of that content for everybody, because you're taking a lot of the middlemen out of the way, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's, our entire mission has been from the very beginning, basically programmatically embedding intellectual property into data vessels on the blockchain, which are tokens, and then making them relevant by creating a distribution network at the same time, basically. So that's what I mean by entertainment industry in a box. We've got to tackle so many different facets to decentralize entertainment, and distribution's a huge, huge part of it. And that's what Breaker.io is all about. So rights management on the blockchain, it's a real thing with Breaker.io.
Well, how do you guys deal with content? I mean, can I just post anything? I mean, what are the ground rules? Obviously, I can't post child porn, but you guys are not going to be so restrictive as YouTube. What are the ground rules on that?
So where this whole situation, where the Singles DAO comes in, is actually there's a mechanism inside the Singles DAO, which is is a decentralized autonomous organization that manages the protocol of the Singles Media Distribution. It's the Singles Media Distribution Protocol, and it's a governance layer that surrounds this distribution protocol, which is technically torrents that are hashed to Ethereum wallets, right? And so those Ethereum wallets are then owned by the content creators. And currently, right now, anything can be added to it, and they can be taken down. But what we're in the middle of doing is actually decentralizing that completely and taking the control away from centralized authority, which is us, Singular DTV, and then allowing this decentralized autonomous organization to really govern it. So the way you will be able to get content onto the platform or onto the protocol, really, Breaker is just a platform, a portal built on top of the protocol. The way you'll be able to do that is you'll go through this mechanism called content mining, which will be decided on by the community. So everyone who owns Singles tokens will have a vote inside of this governance layer.
That would, I did a piss poor job of introducing you. I'm sorry about that. This is Troy Murray, who is also a developer with Singular DTV and Breaker.io. So what you're saying is that the people in the community could then vote whether content is good enough to stay on the platform. So the community would actually decide, and not some douchebag who thinks that it's not good enough because it doesn't fit his political leaning, or what?
Yeah, it's exactly that. So it's a giant social experiment, essentially, to see if we can get the quorum and everything correct to allow for this to happen. I love it as a mental experiment. It's going to be really interesting to see operating in the real world.
Would these votes be by people who are actual stakeholders and would be interested in the outcome of the network, and not just a group of people who don't like what you're doing, that a troll army coming in and they don't like your truth about something, so they want to get rid of you? I mean, how do you balance that?
How do you mediate that? Yeah, so there's a mechanism called it's holographic voting, and it was built into the DX DAO, and so it's a way to mediate that risk, and it changes the way voting essentially works. But you really would have to have a large amount of capital to jump in and manipulate a situation like that. So the bigger issues that we have to worry about are like Sybil attacks, but with the fee market that's built into the mechanism, I'm fairly optimistic that we're going to be able to mediate that entire problem.
What do those? No, go ahead, Zach.
Well, I was just gonna reiterate that yes, you do have to have ownership of singles tokens to be a part of this. The singles tokenized ecosystem is the heart of the Singular DTV economy and the singles token. So.
Yeah, I think one of the more interesting things is that you can actually, as a content creator trying to put things onto the protocol, is you can be paid in singles. And if you're paid in singles, you actually own a larger share of the network. So if you become a larger content creator on the network, you then can have more control over the network. So you don't have to have the fear of some centralized authority like YouTube coming in and taking monetization away from you or taking your videos down completely. And it's all run through smart contracts and the D-Web. So, I mean, how that turns out is interesting.
With videos and YouTube and everything out there, most everything is free. So how does your fee structure incentivize? I mean, most people don't want to pay for anything, obviously.
Well, that's one of the lucky things about crypto, is that you can actually probably get it down to the point of microtransactions. So pennies.
But also the holy grail for us too is to really ultimately build in a meaningful equity relationship between token holders and the content. Okay. Mm-hmm. So basically, the greater the consumption, the greater the participation in the network and viewing, listening to content, then market factors theoretically kick in, supply and demand kicks in, and the singles token is increases in demand and value.
Will there be advertising in there to help offset these fees, or I mean, is that optional? Or
so I've said from the very beginning, as long as I'm CEO of this company and a part of Singular DTV, that there will be no advertisements whatsoever in our little part of the cryptoverse. So I'm pretty adamant about that, but. There's.
What about content creators who have their own ads built into their content?
Well, I guess they would have that right to be able to create whatever modules they like to implement in their channel. So I don't think we would definitely stop anyone from doing that, but it's not something that we're looking to proliferate.
One of the go ahead.
Sorry, I would argue that it's on the mission of the idea is that none of that would ever be built into the base layer of the protocol, but it will be completely open source, and the UI and the back end will all be. You can all jump in and look at the specs when we release it all. So if someone wanted to come in and build a third-party system on top of that allowed for that, there's nobody stopping you from doing that.
Right.
But there will be no mediator between how that's paid to the content creator.
Yeah.
On the base layer.
I know back in 2013 there was a network that came out, and it was we actually go on there as a podcast. It's called the Let's Talk Bitcoin Network. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but they created this model where they were paying the listener and the content creator these LTB tokens, and the value of the token was that you would listen to the podcast or whatever it was, and you would hide a word, and there was the magic word, right? And if you found that magic word, then you would enter it in, and you would get a reward as a viewer because you listened to that content. And what that did is that proved to the advertiser that yes, the person who listened to this content actually listened to this much of the content because they were able to find the magic word. So their ads then became valuable because they were able to prove how many people actually watched it. So, and then of course.
And they would say that this is the magic word, and you had to report it.
Yeah. So when I would create a podcast, and I would say, okay, the magic word is magic word, and I would just hide it somewhere in the podcast. And when somebody would hear the word that I created, they would just enter it into the platform, and then they were rewarded for finding that word, and I was rewarded for creating the content. And they actually they traded on Poloniex for quite some time. I actually made some pretty good money off of it.
I'd be very worried about AI technology with that right now, just on the ability to listen to words and then extract data from that. In the long run, it would seem the Sybil attack would be on the table.
Yeah. Well, the word, I guess if they were looking for magic word, then finding the word after that. Yeah. I see.
Well, you know what? It's, I truly do think that the future of entertainment, probably by the time my daughter is, my age, for example, most of the content that she's going to consume will probably be generated by AI.
Right.
So AI needs content too.
Well, obviously, one of the main places that people are going to find their content is through their social media. That's where everybody, puts their YouTube channels and everything else. So, Kingsley, let's get your opinion on that. What do you think of the platform and kind of the ideas that they have?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think we have similar but different model and strategy, going forward. In a way, we're also more centralized than we'd like to be right now, but we have our kind of decentralization and distribution strategy that we're, hoping to get to by Q3, Q4 of this year. I think, I would say, one of the main differences is that we're definitely ad friendly. As far as, that powering the network, we're trying to remove ourselves as the middleman between transactions and also communication, enabling free speech in our platform and also encrypted communication. But yeah, I'm interested to learn more. I took a peek at your site beforehand, and Danny definitely, he speaks highly of you guys and says you guys are, very well connected in what seems like kind of maybe the Hollywood scene and potentially getting some.
Yeah, I first heard about you guys when I've been working with Alex Winter for several years because of he created the movie Deep Web about Ross Ulbricht, and I've done a lot of fundraising and stuff for Lynn Ulbricht. And so I've known Alex for a while, and Alex reached out to me and said that his movie Trust Machine would be strictly on Breaker.io. That's the only place you could actually see it when it first came out. And so he put me in touch with you guys. And so I pretty much, respect his opinion on things. So.
Yeah, me too. Definitely.
Well, so what about, what are some of for you, Kingsley, what are some of the platforms? You guys are obviously trying to get video in there and everything. What is it that you're looking for in some of these platforms?
Well, we do have video integrated right now.
Mm-hmm.
We definitely, so yeah, people are able to upload videos, and we're taking a look at a lot of different platforms. We're trying to make it kind of us, as interoperable as possible with not only the current main popular platforms like Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, but also with other all the alternatives as well. And we just see this trend of I think it's like 2 years ago, people, they had like 2.4 social accounts, and now they have like 4 or 5. And so I think, you know, in the next 2 years, maybe most people will have like 5 or so. So we see what, you know, kind of this decentralization of all these people moving off YouTube, especially YouTube and Facebook, or at least looking for alternatives.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's gonna be a lot of room. You know, this is billions of people, and there's gonna be a lot of room for different platforms that offer, you know, obviously different features in the future.
I would be interested to hear from both of you, like how the algorithms serve me what I want, because just the other day, like I'm a huge Rush fan, and literally I seen one post that came across my feed, and it was by Jeff Berwick about Neil Peart dying.
Yeah,
it was the only one that crossed my feed, and like I'm always liking Rush stuff. Why am I? But I couldn't give a rat's ass about Jeffrey Epstein. And that crap was all over my feed. That's all I seen.
Mm-hmm.
And the same with YouTube. You know, when I go into YouTube, a lot of what I really want to see, it's not there. I mean, what do you guys do as far as algorithms to you know, spoon feed the customer what they want?
Well, on our returns there, we don't use algorithms. It's at least on the Breaker portal. Someone could create algorithms on top of the protocol, like a UI on top of the protocol with algorithms in it, and it would connect all your stuff. I'm not a huge fan of it, personally. I actually try to feed the algorithms to track me with dummy information to see what they're doing to me, so I'm on top of it. So I'll go to like weird websites and I'll spoon feed a BS, and then I'll see who's tracking me and where. So I mean, I have like Google Echoes and Amazons all over the place, so they're listening to me, so they know. So I just start rambling, and people probably think I'm crazy, but it's fun to see. It's fun to see how those algorithms really are like linking into your life, and then presenting stuff on your Instagram or your Twitter, and all of a sudden you'll have on your Facebook a little promoted. These are the new luggage items you need to have.
I was in Home Depot yesterday, and I was joking with the cashier about doing a bank job because I had a nail gun with me, and I was picking up some nails. She goes, "Oh, you need some bullets for the gun?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm about to do a bank job. I need a good driver, and you know, can you be my getaway driver?" And so I'm waiting for the thought police to show up at my door and get me for planning a robbery or something.
Right.
You know?
I'm going to call the cops right now. We don't need an algorithm for that.
Right. So you guys are a DAO. I've done a little bit of work with DAOs before. We were funded for a lot of stuff through Dash. Tell me how the DAO works.
Okay, so the DAO has a couple different mechanisms built into it. One of them is that it's an adaptive platform. So there's a treasury attached to it. There's a listing fee. So if you want to put anything onto the protocol, you have to pay it'll be a small fee, probably less than, I think we're going to start it off at like 10 cents. I would imagine,
anti-spam mechanism.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, and then everything goes into the treasury. The treasury is controlled by the DAO. If you want to vote on the DAO for anything that comes up, they want to be upgraded for the protocol, you have to have singles, you stake them. That's one mechanism. The other mechanism is the content mining, which is the one we're working on heavily right now. And that has elements of proof of stake, prediction markets, and token curator registries. So you can go around and you can see systems out there where they're using the mechanisms of the blockchain to allow for content to be added to kind of centralized controlled systems through TCRs. Looks more like a toy right now, but we want to do that at large scale. So we want to see how all that works, and then build it out. And then, yeah, so content mining, yeah.
And what about the voting? So how do the stakeholders vote? How does that go down? Is that a monthly thing, or?
The voting will be probably when that hasn't been fully figured out yet. So but it will be that you have to have the tokens and you stake them in the DAO according to how many you have, how many singles you have. That will be your voting weight. And then whenever I'm calling them SIPs, which is singular upgrade or singular upgrade proposals.
Improvement proposals.
Improvements. SIPs or SUPs. I kind of like SUPs personally, but
yeah, right.
SUPs.
What's up?
Yeah, SUPs.
Yeah.
So so those will be presented, but it will be whenever those are. I think what will really happen is it falls on the idea that it's an adaptive platform. So when we need to upgrade the protocol to allow for things, all the fees that the DAO collects off of people using it will go up to allow for the treasury to rise to pay for the development, and then it will adapt and fall back down to normal levels. And what those normal levels are going to be pennies, but when you need to have an upgrade, transaction fees might go up a little bit, listing fees might go up, staking fees might go up to allow for the payment of the upgrades so that the protocol can just exist. It's the idea where we won't need outside sources to fund, let's say, HTML5 won't need to outside funding to make HTML6, right? The protocol will just, it will just exist in the ether, essentially.
Right. Cryptocurrency is a pretty small market compared to the rest of the world. How are you guys going to disguise this whole thing to where, will I be able to just use my credit card and then buy these tokens and not actually realize that it's cryptocurrency? How do we get grandma to use your platform without them knowing that it's crypto?
I would probably argue that grandma's not going to be using the DAO. I think that the grandmas will be using the portals built on top of the DAO of the protocol, which will have easy on-ramps for fiat, which is one thing Breaker does really well, is we've actually developed an entire system that interacts with the protocol and will essentially, it kind of pools the funds and then buys the crypto and then sends it out to everyone. And then that's a service. We charge a fee for that. Breaker, the company does. And then that's a service built on top of the protocol. But anyone can come around and build another portal, and then they can license that into that system from us onto their portal if they want to build a specific type of portal.
Okay. How big is the current user base? And that question actually goes to both of you.
We're just under 10,000 right now. So we're still, relatively small, but we're growing pretty fast. So we're hoping to kind of keep up our traction month over month, and by year's end, we should be looking.
And what is your plan to reach out to outside of the crypto and liberty community to the actual, normal people? I guess is what we should. Normies, those guys.
Normies and no coiners.
Yeah.
I think we probably have a similar strategy here. We think that, content is king, and it's really these content creators that are getting screwed over by these, large corporations right now and demonetized. And so, we're really focused on bringing content creators over there, whether it's, video content creators, you can upload audio to Flote as well. Even just, meme creators, shit posters.
Like this is the, the pinnacle time to have this happen. You have people out there like PewDiePie who went to DLive.
Yep.
This is the prime moment that you guys should really be capitalizing on this.
Exactly. So we feel that also kind of naturally, just with our connections and being involved with the, liberty movement for quite a while, and having, knowing the right people, that maybe the anarchist libertarian community and even crypto community is kind of small, but it's really, when it comes to like this, the issue of free speech, and even just the distrust of companies like Facebook and Google right now, that is a very mainstream opinion. So you see Trump talking about free speech and this and that, or different congressmen bringing it up quite a bit, or even Fox News talking about it. So we feel kind of naturally that the progression towards maybe, anarchists, crypto anarchists, libertarians, and we already have a lot of, we even have a bunch of Trump supporters and other people that are on our platform because they're getting thrown in Facebook jail for 30 days for no reason, or getting, banned from YouTube for saying something bad about Bernie Sanders,
All right.
So I think the time is, you're correct in that the time is really good now, and to start something up in this space.
And how about you guys?
Yeah, I would definitely say, for us, it's all about evangelizing, spreading the word, And it's a call to action. Everyone listening to this who isn't aware of Breaker or Flote, go out there and check it out right now. Absolutely, because this is the future. It's an emergent future. We don't exactly know what the hell is going to happen, or I'm speaking for Singular DTV Breaker, but something is happening. We're not stopping. This is more than just a business opportunity or an innovation. This is a movement, and we need more people to be involved in Breaker and in Flote to keep this movement growing.
What is your user base look like right now, and has it been growing because of some of the censorship?
Yeah, so Troy, you can probably talk about our user base both in the DAO and on Breaker more than I. You're definitely in a lot of those marketing calls.
Yeah, totally. So right now, Breaker has around 2,000 active users. And then the DAO hasn't launched yet, so there is no users on that yet. But recently, I think we've been adding around 100 users every 2 weeks or something like that with the recent digital marketing campaigns we've been putting out. So that's been really responsive. There hasn't been much marketing towards the whole censor resistance yet. This is kind of one of our first forays into that. So I'm excited to kind of see what happens with that and the community we can build around that, because the community we have right now keeps asking me that specific question is how are we going to embed those principles inside of the community? And I keep telling them it's all about outreach and grassroots. And there's always been pushback against it, but I know that movement, it's the time, right? You can feel that the time is now. Even you're seeing technology leaders like Jack go out and say that he wants to create a protocol that's decentralized and find ways to distribute media through it. So
yeah,
it's on the mind.
Kim.com is working on some K.im right now. It's supposed to be kind of a competitor to Twitter. So it's definitely popular.
Yeah, the ideas are out there. I mean, you've seen it kind of permeate into even something like Silicon Valley, right, where the decentralized internet and stuff like that. So the time is now, and getting it out there is so important. And the technology is ready, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. If you would have told me a couple of years ago, like, we're going to do all this, I would have been like, okay, well, what are you going to use to do all of it? And now it's there, right? You can upload your stuff, and you can make it happen. And there's organizations on the blockchain that have voting, and it's working. It's on small scale. It's hobbyist almost, but personal computers started out as hobbies too.
Right.
Yeah. Not only can it work now, but even like 2 years ago, there was still a need for it, but there wasn't as much as a need for it, because it seems like these the big tech guys are really clamping down on just, content and just everything in general. Their users, it's really interesting, because I mean, as far as a business perspective, it seems like they're really shooting themselves in the foot like every single day, with all this stuff, data breaches and just all the censorship. So it's not going to be easy for companies like ours, but I think that it's definitely going to be worthwhile.
All right. I guess maybe I should wrap this up pretty soon. What are some of your goals for 2020 as far as for Breaker? Are there people you're trying to get on, and also who are some of the bigger names that you guys have on there that are actually putting content on Breaker?
Well, with regard to Breaker, we've got a whole slate of original films coming out in 2020. So that's going to be an exciting time for us. We've spent 2018 and 2019 pretty much in beta with Breaker, and Troy did allude that we're just now starting more of a marketing push. So you're going to see a big marketing push from us this year as well, because we've gotten a lot of the bugs out of Breaker, and it's really ready to rock and roll. So for us, it's just about adding user base and rolling out original productions, adding libraries, really great libraries from content from distributors in studios from around the world. And there's others out there from the independent filmmaker or musician that started their career on Breaker or is starting their career on Breaker. And then there are well-established filmmakers like Steven Soderbergh and David Lynch who are contributing content that they've produced or been involved with on Breaker as well. So it's going to be exciting for us this year.
And we mentioned Alex Winter. Is his new film going on there as well? The Frank Zappa story, or?
Yeah, that would be a discussion that we would have to have with
Alex,
our content team. And also the business powers that be that Alex is dealing with right now. But that's something we would love to have. Absolutely.
Yeah. I'd seen that.
Can I go over?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can we go over the roadmap for maybe the singles DAO that's coming out also for 2020? Because we've got a big build out that's going to be pushed out. We're going to have the token swap in the next couple months in Q1 of 2020, along with which is the upgrade to allow for the DAO to occur. And then there will be the open source UI that will be released. So there will be an open source UI that will be built on top of the protocol that anyone can come in and build upon. So you can use the protocol in any way you really want to. And then we're going to have ongoing content mining research. So if anyone's interested, it's singlesdao.io if you want to check it out.
Yeah. Singles being SNGLS DAO.io.
Yeah. It sounds like it's a ripe place for strippers to have webcams, right? I
think that's Spank Chain.
Well, you could spend your singles with, okay, bad
singles.
joke.
Are you allowing erotic content on the platform or no?
That's up to the DAO to decide.
I think the question is, can we stop it? And the answer would be no.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, what about? Well, I guess if the DAO votes on it, I mean, obviously, if somebody's putting child porn or snuff videos or something like that, you don't want that up. I mean, there's liabilities with that. So hopefully, the DAO would act responsibly and vote that out. I mean,
I'm very adamant that we would. In fact, I've had this conversation with people in the community many times.
Do you have an emergency switch or something that would allow you to stop that before it's published? Or I mean, how would you deal with that?
Well, I don't want to get into the way we would deal with it is that the way I see it is there's going to be battling AI. I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
It's kind of like the idea of mining pools. So whatever algorithm is the best, that does the best job, and the community has decided that this is what they like, they will gain most of the rewards for mining content onto the protocol. Mm-hmm. But I do not believe that most people want child porn or snuff films.
I hope not.
That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah. Give me their address. I'll show up. All right. Is there anything else that any of you guys want to share? Contact information or how to find out more about Breaker and Singular DTV.
So the best way to find out about the Singles DAO is snglsdao.io, or you can find us on Twitter. Same thing, SNGLS DAO. And we have a Discord on there you can join, and then we have a forum also for high technical conversations, which is where a lot of those the questions you're asking about content mining actually occur. Yeah.
Awesome. And as far as Flote, how about Flote?
Yeah, join Flote.com or Flote.App, and you can follow me there at Flote.app/king.
Yeah, you can find the Crypto Show there too.
Yeah,
I think it's at the Crypto Show.
Yeah,
I believe.
Yep.
So, all right. Well, looking forward to seeing more. All the alternatives that we can find to Facebook and YouTube and Twitter. I'm all for it. So it's great to see this stuff out there, man. I appreciate you guys for your time, and let's hope this grows. And I hope you guys can create a relationship and maybe help each other as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks so much for having us.
All right, man.
Yeah, thanks for having us.